What if your struggles are not interruptions, but part of a bigger purpose you can't fully see yet? What if the challenges you're facing right now are actually preparing you to impact people you've never even met? And what if your story, every delay, every difficulty, is being used for something far greater than yourself? There are moments in life when things don't go the way you expected. Plans shift, opportunities seem delayed. You may even feel like you're stuck, like you're not moving forward the way you should. And in those moments, it's easy to question everything. Why is this happening? Why is this so hard? Why does it feel like I'm being held back? In Ephesians 3:1-13, we see a powerful perspective that challenges that way of thinking. The Apostle Paul writes from a place people would see as a limitation. He is in prison, confined, restricted, unable to move freely. But what's remarkable is how he sees it. He doesn't describe himself as a victim of circumstances. He describes himself as a prisoner for Christ. That one shift in perspective changes everything. Because instead of seeing his situation as something that is happening to him, he sees it as something that is happening through him for a purpose. And that purpose is bigger than his comfort. Paul was given a mission to bring a message to people who were once considered outsiders, the Gentiles. Those who were not part of the original promise, not included in what many thought was only for a specific group. But now, something has changed. The message is clear. The promise is for everyone, not just a select few, not just those who meet certain conditions, but all who are willing to receive it. This was not something people fully understood before. Paul calls it a mystery, something hidden in the past, now revealed. And here's what makes it powerful. This mystery wasn't revealed through convenience. It was revealed through calling. Paul didn't choose an easy path. He was chosen for a meaningful one. And often those two are not the same. We tend to look for comfort, for clarity, for a path that feels smooth and predictable. But purpose doesn't always look like that. Sometimes purpose looks like pressure. Sometimes it looks like waiting. Sometimes it looks like walking through situations that stretch you beyond what feels comfortable. And in those moments, it's easy to feel like you're falling behind. But what if you're not behind, just being prepared? Paul understood that his situation, even in chains, did not stop his purpose. In fact, it gave it more weight, because his message wasn't just words. It was backed by endurance, by faith that remained steady even when circumstances didn't. And that's where real impact comes from, not from perfect conditions, but from consistent purpose. The passage reminds us that this calling was given by grace, not earned, not achieved, given. And that matters because it removes comparison. You don't have to look at someone else's path and wonder why yours looks different. You don't have to measure your progress by someone else's timeline. Your path is unique, your calling is specific, and your journey, even the difficult parts, is part of that. Paul describes himself as the least of all God's people, yet given the responsibility to share something incredibly valuable. This shows something important. Your past does not disqualify you. Your weaknesses do not eliminate your purpose. In fact, sometimes they are the very reason you are chosen, because they keep you grounded. They remind you that what you're doing is not based on your own strength. It's based on something greater. And that allows you to move forward without pride, without pressure to prove yourself, just a willingness to be used. Paul's mission was to make known the boundless riches available to everyone. Think about that phrase, boundless. It means unlimited, without end. And yet so many people live as if they are limited, limited by their past, limited by their circumstances, limited by what others have said about them. But this message breaks that mindset. It says there is more available than you think, more purpose, more growth, more opportunity to impact others. And sometimes you discover that not when things are easy, but when they are difficult. Because difficulty forces clarity, it forces you to ask deeper questions, to look beyond surface-level answers, to understand what truly matters. Paul also talks about making this message known to everyone, bringing light where there was confusion. And that's something we all can relate to. There are areas in life where things feel unclear, where direction is uncertain, where you're not sure what the next step should be. But purpose often grows in those spaces, because it requires trust. It requires stepping forward even when you don't have all the answers. And that's where faith becomes real. Not when everything is clear, but when you choose to move forward anyway. The passage also reveals something bigger, that through this mission, even unseen forces recognize the wisdom of God. This reminds us that what we do has impact beyond what we can see. Your actions matter. Your choices matter, even when no one notices, even when it feels small. Because influence is not always visible. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's long-term. Sometimes it's happening in ways you won't fully understand right now. But that doesn't make it less important. Paul speaks with confidence, not because of his situation, but because of his connection. He says we can approach God with freedom and confidence. That means you don't have to hesitate. You don't have to feel unworthy. You don't have to wait until everything in your life is perfect. You can move forward now. You can trust now. You can step into your purpose now. And that's a powerful shift, because many people delay their growth, waiting for the right moment. When things settle down, when they feel ready, when everything makes sense. Now it does, but that moment may never come. Growth happens in the middle of uncertainty. Purpose unfolds in the middle of process, and confidence grows through action, not waiting. Paul ends with something that might seem surprising. He asks others not to be discouraged because of his suffering. Think about that. From the outside, his situation looks difficult, even discouraging, but he sees it differently. He sees it as part of something meaningful, something that brings value, and that perspective changes everything. Because when you see your challenges as part of your purpose, they don't define you negatively. They refine you. They strengthen you. They prepare you. So today, if you're facing something difficult, take a moment to shift your perspective. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this preparing me for? Instead of seeing limitation, look for purpose. Instead of focusing on what you can't control, focus on what you can do. Because your story is still being written, and every part of it matters. The delays, the challenges, the unexpected turns, they are not wasted. They are shaping you, positioning you, preparing you to impact others in ways you may not even realize yet. You don't need perfect conditions to live with purpose. You need perspective. You need willingness. You need the courage to keep moving forward, even when the path is unclear. Because purpose is not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's built in small, consistent steps. But over time, those steps lead to something significant, something meaningful, something that reaches beyond you. So don't underestimate where you are right now. Don't dismiss your current situation as unimportant, because it may be the very place where your purpose is taking shape. Stay focused, stay open, stay willing, and trust that what you are going through is not the end of the story. It's part of something greater. Thank you for watching this video. If this message encouraged you, don't forget to like, follow the channel Holy Path Insights, and share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that their story still has purpose.